is a monster. It's a subhuman. This person doesn't think like you and I do. This person is not going to make sense.
Well, that's a bit cocksure now, isn't it? You're so sure that you know this person is a monster and you know what this person is thinking, yet you do not know who this person is. Very peculiar thing to say at that moment, don't you think? Welcome to part 22 of the JonBenet Ramsey Sketchy Detail series. If you have not watched the first 21 parts, it's advised that you do. This video, along with all of the videos in this series, are intended for an educational purpose only and are not intended for children at all. Before I start, I just want to say thank you so much to my existing and my new subscribers. Thank you so much. Number 86. So I'm not sure where this picture originated from, but I found it on Reddit, and you will realize that up in the top left corner, this depiction is claiming that Melinda's bedroom was next to JonBenet's bedroom. The girls were next to each other. This isn't the only depiction of it. As you will see here, the Denver Post also tried to say that Melinda's bedroom was closest to JonBenet's. Now, we all know by now that it's not true, that John Andrew's bedroom was closest to JonBenet's. To be fair, I can kind of understand why. It had its own bathroom, which if he was there more than Melinda was because he was going to school there, he would need to get ready more. However, the whole placement of the occupants of this household is ridiculous. First of all, say John Andrew wasn't there at this time, right? He's back home or whatever. JonBenet is all by herself on that, back end of the house. Her brother and both of her parents are on the totally opposite end. That's kind of weird. Like, I would have bad dreams and probably wet the bed too. But secondly, if John Andrew was abusing her, then that gives him extreme access to her. Not only that, but it gives him almost private access because nobody else is on that side of the freaking house. So speaking of private access, this little staircase here only went from the 3rd floor down to the 2nd floor. So from the parents' bedroom to the kids' floor, okay? It's directly diagonal across from JonBenet's bedroom door. It also leads up to the area in the parents' floor that is by their bedrooms and their bathrooms. Couples tend to fight, okay? And sometimes the woman will kick the man out of the bed, right? Well, the man's not going to go sleep on a quote-unquote couch if there's so many spare bedrooms. I see him just going down these stairs and going to the bedroom that John Andrew would quote-unquote normally be in. If John's bedroom is all the way over here by the tie above Burke's bedroom, why do I think that he would go all the way to the other end of the room and go down those small stairs instead of these stairs here? Well, because then that would lead him to Melinda's bedroom, which does not have its own bathroom. So there's like incentives, if you will, to go to the quote-unquote John Andrew's bedroom. Why was Burke not in that room to begin with? Why were the two kids that lived there like all the time, not close to each other on that floor? Was there a specific reason that you guys had them so far separated? Did they need to be separated? Or was it simply because Burke wanted a balcony as well? His bedroom is also a bit bigger, so maybe that's just the room that Burke ended up picking. However, as far as the balconies go, as far as myself is concerned, my 9 and 6-year-olds would never have a 2nd story balcony. And I'm sorry, but my daughter, even in her teen years, would not have access to a balcony because I know how I was. That little brat would be sneaking out, you know what I mean? So it's like this, I don't really get why the kids had these bedrooms except for excess and, show of opulence and blah, blah, blah. If I'm the mom or parent, I'm going to have both of my kids in these bedrooms, Burke's bedroom and Melinda's bedroom. My kids do not need access to a balcony. And they don't really necessarily need their own bathroom if there's one directly across from them. I would have saved that for guests or whatever, But, they were spoiling her, so of course they're going to want her to have her own bathroom. Also, if she soiled herself a lot, she would need to change, quickly, and then it's directly across from that washer and dryer. So, another point concerning the layout of this house. So, according to the evidence, we're supposed to believe that this intruder took JonBenet from her bedroom, then went down this path, down the spiral staircase, where he then left the 3-page ransom note with either JonBenet over his shoulder Or he set her down to go write the note and then put it there. And then they moved through the kitchen, down these stairs into the basement, and then for some reason went through this window here. Who else would have such a straight shot of that being the path they took besides John Andrew? Some people may say that that's a bit of an accusation, so this path at least proves and shows that it was someone who never broke in and never left. Therefore, it was someone who was inside the house. Now think about this. Why would you spend the time with a child either hanging over your shoulder, in your arms, or lying on the floor and write a novel of a ransom note just to then walk and go put her body downstairs underneath her house? That would imply that somewhere between the ransom note and the body downstairs that she died, that they killed her, okay? In a more believable intruder theory, the intruder would have to stake out their house and would see JonBenét in her bedroom to know that that was her bedroom. He would also have to stake out for a while to be able to tell that nobody else was on that side of the house with her. The intruder would most likely just jump up on top of her balcony and go into her bedroom that way. If they did not just then turn around and take her down the balcony, then they might go down these stairs and go through this tiny hall and go straight out this door, which is directly to the side of the balconies. That would be the most logical path for a unknown intruder. But yet, they did all this random through the house ransom note in the basement shit, okay? And they would leave the ransom note on her bed. Ransoms are usually left wherever the person was supposed to be last. That way, they know that the note is going to be found instantly when they discover that that person is no longer where they're supposed to be. It wouldn't be just somewhere else in the house that could be left up to chance of them even finding it. While I'm on the subject of the exit spot of the quote-unquote intruder, I feel that this whole route through the house and into the basement was never supposed to be known to us or the cops. I don't think it was part of Patsy's clues, except for obviously the spiral staircase, because, that's where she left the ransom note. But this whole path through the house, where the marker was, where the pen pad was all not supposed to be known by us, and that is actually an actual piece of what really happened. It's the actual path that they took to dispose of her body. Except for the last little piece of the path where it leads from her body to the window, because that was an afterthought. The suitcase was put there after the police were already there. The window, however, was already broken, not because John broke in trying to get into his own damn house, because they broke the window to make the already cold wine cellar more cold to preserve her body. I feel that he expected to be able to either have the cops treat it as a kidnapping the entire time and then end up leaving their house eventually so that he could just then take the body with him on the plane, or he expected it to still be treated as a kidnapping and them not find her, and then the Ramseys be able to be let off to go to Atlanta while the cops are still investigating and doing the house, and then for the cops to find the body a couple days later. But either way, she was put in there to try to mask, and obviously it did mask, the actual time of death. I think John saw the opportunity because the window was already broken, and he picked up the suitcase. It was light, so he thought, okay, it's empty, and then he put it there, and then, lo and behold, it has his other son's semen-covered blanket and an awkward book inside of it, and he incriminates his other son in a sense. So I do feel that was kind of a lucky break to give us a better insight into the Ramsey family, but I do feel that was an accidental clue because John didn't know that there was anything in there, and he just did it hurriedly because there was literally cops already in his house upstairs. And I think this little fact of John's little last-minute afterthought plan of the suitcase is similar to Patsy's afterthought plan of calling 911 and leaving the ransom note, which I think she wrote during the time that John left to go take those boxes to the hangar. And so I think this is their split in planning that the poem talks about. But enough with that number. Let's just move right along to the next one, number 87. I feel that Fleet White picking up the shard of glass and putting it on the windowsill was him sort of having an epiphany and realizing, or at least starting to piece together what was going on. I do feel that by the time her funeral came around, that Fleet White was well aware that JonBenét's parents knew what happened to her, or at least knew who did this to her. I kind of fully believe now that the Whites are 100% innocent, including the Nancy Krebs thing. I feel that that was a distant relative that John bought. He paid them off to say that story so that people would associate the Whites family with sexual abuse instead of the Ramsey family with sexual abuse. The day of her funeral, Fleet was staying with John's brother, Jeff, and apparently at one point Fleet got mad and he was going to head over to Patsy's parents' house, so Dawn and Nedra's house, and he was going to confront them about something, right? Well, supposedly Patsy and like the kids and somebody else ran and hid in like a storm shelter or some crap. And then Don went and got his gun and then put it under the couch cushion that he then sat on top of and waited for Fleet to come, right? So like they were pretty scared, if you will. The Ramseys will have you believe that that was Fleet just simply going to confront John about not cooperating with the investigation. I feel that on the 26th, Fleet was already doing that to John. He was already questioning why John was not fully cooperating with the police. So I feel that on the day of her funeral, Fleet going over to Dawn's was because at some point over at Jeff's, it was confirmed to Fleet that Dawn was sexually abusing JonBenét. And so Fleet flipped out and was going to go confront Dawn. And they called him to warn him. And it was kind of like, when Fleet was told, it was kind of like a, oh, you know, this is what's going on, but everybody knew about it. And I think Fleet was like, oh, hell no. I said in one of my earlier videos that I felt like when Fleet got mad at John, that it felt like he was actually fighting like for JonBenét. And so like I do believe that now, especially because I just read the second letter that they wrote, so the one that they wrote to the people of Colorado. It's very telling and very compelling, and we'll actually go into more what he talks about in that letter in a different number, because people would have you believe that he's like attacking the Ramseys, and really he only mentions them like directly at the end. In the Trip to Muth, Tom Haney, Patsy Ramsey interview, Patsy throws the Whites under the bus 3 different times. She does it to Fleet once and Priscilla twice, and I think that's very catty of her. And I think once she realized that they did not believe her bullshit and that they were going to be more on JonBenét's side than her side, which was obvious because her side was clearly lying, that she totally decided then that she was going to throw them under the bus. But I think the whole relationship between them, Patsy was friends with them because they were the ideal family that she wanted to portray her family as being. And I think it's weird because she was asked if all of the kids' friends were potty trained, and the only ones she brings up is, yeah, the White kids were potty trained. And I just think that's kind of weird. It kind of, I don't know, I wish we had the videotapes of Patsy's interviews because her body language and stuff showed a lot more than just her words that we get on the paper. In the same interview, the Tom Haney, Trip to Muth, Patsy Ramsey interview, Patsy also blames Priscilla for being the person that called their neighbor the blonde bitch, right? She said that it was because Priscilla was told by this blonde bitch, aren't you ever going to put all those boxes away? Referring to some moving boxes that they had in their living room, apparently visible through one of the main windows, right? So basically, Patsy was saying that Priscilla said this because the quote-unquote blonde bitch took a jab at Priscilla's lifestyle. I don't think that happened. I think that when Priscilla told Patsy that she didn't agree with the pageants, that Patsy took that as a jab, and at that moment, she kind of considered Priscilla someone to keep an eye on, if you will. Like, I feel like Patsy was very, very catty and very childish with the way that she acted. And I wish that, I know that the Whites think it's above or below their, class to give more insight into who they were, the Ramseys, but I really do wish that they would give more insight into Patsy's personality, her everyday personality. And Fleet was quoted as saying, "What would you say if I told you that the Ramseys owned high-tech boots?" So, therefore, they do know more than they've let on or that they've told. I'm not really sure why. Number 88. So, I have been going back and forth over the Tom Haney, Trip DeMuth, Patsy Ramsey interview for well over a month now, and this number is just going to be a bunch of different things from the interview that are very interesting to me. Now, this one's relatively minor, but I just found it interesting that during the interview, Patsy is drinking tea. For the second one, when asked about Dale Flint, Patsy said, "That sounds familiar." And here she's being asked about an invitation from Francis Draper and Carl Cumley inviting the Ramseys to a New Year's Eve party. And we've already talked about the New Year's Eve thing with this whole case. And Trip DeMuth says that it was found outside of the door leading to the patio. I don't know if he meant the balcony, like JonBenét's balcony, or what, but he said patio, supposedly outside of the place that Patsy would have normally had these things. And here, Patsy is alluding to the fact that John was her first boyfriend and her first marriage. So it kind of feels like an arranged marriage, in my opinion, like arranged by Patsy's father and John. And right here, we almost got a truth slip-up from Patsy. Well, starting at line 13. She says, "I ran upstairs, and I can't remember if, asked him to check on Burke. One of us checked on Burke, and I remember just seeing him at the phone trying to," and then she stops, and then says, "and then I looked down, and John came down and on the floor, down here," indicating some spot. She slipped and said that John was at the phone trying to what? To get a hold of the pilot, to do what? To do damage control. What was he trying to do with the phone? Because in the quote-unquote official mainstream media story, John never touched the phone except for when he was trying to answer it and talking with Detective Linda Arndt to get it set up for the supposed call from the kidnappers. Here, she's being asked about the pineapple and almost gets defensive about it and says, "So what? Somebody gave her pineapple," because she knows it was her that gave her the pineapple. Here she's discussing the little beaded jewelry kit that JonBenét was putting together on Christmas night. At line 12, Trip DeMuth asks her if she recalls who gave JonBenét that bead kit. And Patsy responds, "I don't know, it was under the tree." And then he asks, "Was it from you or..." And then Patsy says, "Or a group scene, I don't know." And then he asks her, "Did you purchase it?" And she says yes. Okay, so then doesn't that mean that she received the bead kit from you? Like, how is that not for her then, from you? Like, if you bought it for your daughter, then it is from you to her. There's no I don't know and no mystery about it. And right here, Trip DeMuth says there was a video camera, I think, on that kitchen island there, or something like that. I may not have that exactly. And Patsy says, "I vaguely remember a video camera being out because I was probably turning it up to take pictures Christmas morning, but then we never ended up taking any." And then for this one, we're starting with line 16, and he says, "Well, this photo was on your roll of file in your camera, and on the same roll is the next photo. A Christmas morning photo of the kids." Patsy says, "Yes. Oh God." Now the picture that he's talking about is this picture here. The first one that he says, obviously not the one of the kids, but this one here. But she's lying about taking pictures of the kids on Christmas morning. Why? That's why she says, "Oh God," because she knows that she's caught in her lie that she just said. Now this picture in and of itself is quite the anomaly. But this picture is also very important. So as I just stated, this picture was found on the Ramseys film roll. In the same film roll, there are pictures of both kids from that Christmas morning. Meaning, this picture was taken on the same day that she died, okay? Yes, somebody could have been just trying to, use the last photo, and that's what they took the picture of. It's very possible, but what are the odds that that's where the ransom note ended up being left? Why was this picture taken? Is this another clue on Patsy's behalf? Or is it simply a weird coincidence? I'm not sure. Here, she's looking at a police evidence photo of Burke's bedroom, and she says, they made Burke's bed. That's unusual, because he didn't make his bed. Okay, who made the bed? Your sister when she went in and took all that other evidence? Or the quote-unquote victims advocates who cleaned the freaking crime scene? Or somebody else who was trying to cover up how your guys' family really was and the lifestyle that your family really led? Now, this part began with them asking questions about JonBenét's hand hygiene, how often she washed her hands and stuff. And they're leading into the heart, quote-unquote, that was on JonBenét's hand. Now, here, Patsy clearly says, I know the heart was on there because I saw it in the morning that she was found, okay? So Patsy says, clearly, I physically saw the heart in the palm of my daughter's hand. She's even further asked what her initial reaction to seeing the heart was, which she says, I just thought Daphne must have done it. Then she tries to throw Bill McReynolds under the bus again. And then she says, that was a pretty good little heart, you know? I mean, pretty well drawn. So, verifying for a second time that yes, she had seen in person the heart on her daughter's palm. Patsy is greatly contradicting herself in this questioning because in the beginning she's alluding to the fact that she saw it Christmas Day. But then when she's directly asked, do you mean you saw it the next morning, the morning after Christmas, meaning that you saw it the morning your daughter was missing? And she says yes. Does she mean after the body was brought up? I don't know. But if I'm a cop or detective and I hear a mother say that she saw her daughter the morning that she went missing, I'm going to ask some more questions. Then, during the next day's questioning, Patsy backtracks and says, I'm having trouble distinguishing whether I have read about that heart or whether I actually saw it. I just recently read the autopsy report, and I believe it was on there. And I just, now I have a picture of a heart on her hand, and I can't remember whether I actually saw it or not. She backtracks like this because she is now aware, probably because Trip DeMuth told her, that her previous statement connected her to the ritualistic part of the crime. So she was incriminating herself. In that last statement, she again contradicts herself when she states, I recently read the autopsy report, because in a totally different interview, she explains that she has never, nor does she intend ever, to read the autopsy report. We all know by now that they planned on getting up early, going to get or meet Melinda and John Andrew, and then going to Michigan together, and then right after that, going on to the Big Red Boat for Patsy's birthday celebration. So that's a pretty big plan, and especially for it being 7 o'clock in the morning that you guys had to be there, so you'd be up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. That's early, right? So that would be a reason to go home at a certain time, the morning or the night before, right? So why does Patsy tell the cops that she had no reason to look at the time when they were at the Whites to see what time they left? Because they were not in a hurry to leave. Okay, but you have all these plans at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, but yet you had no reason to look at what time you were leaving the White's house? I don't get that. There's no logic in that to me, at least. And right here on line 7, Tom Haney asks Patsy, do you recall purchasing some high-tech boots at Pepe's up in Vail in the summer of '96? Now, that's a very, very specific question. Not only does he bring up the name of the place, but the city that she bought them in and the season and the year. Clearly, Patsy did buy high-tech boots in Vail at some place called Pepe's in the summer of '96. Of course, she can't remember if she did or not, but this specific of a question is clearly like he knows that she purchased those at that time, at that place. Now, by John's own account, no matter which account you want to believe, that he either read to her before she slept, or he simply carried her up to sleep, or up to her bedroom when she was asleep already, either one you choose to believe, by his own account, he was pretty much the last one to be around and see JonBenét while she was still alive, right? Now, still dealing with that same interview, Patsy says that, or well, she's asked, and when you woke up, where was John? And she says he was already up. He had gotten up, and I think he was in his bathroom. She says that she thinks that he was in his shower. So she's saying that before she even saw the ransom note, that John was already awake. And then here, Triptamuth asks her, would it be unusual for John to put his bathrobe down there on the floor in that area? And the area he's talking about is John's study, which is just beneath JonBenét's bedroom. And she says, yeah, because he usually hangs it up in the bathroom, all the way on the 3rd floor. Now, if you take all those things into account, as well as John's distant demeanor on the 26th, those seem like really big red flags to me about John. And here, Patsy says, I just can't imagine. I don't know where this was, if she would have seen it to do such a thing anyway. Triptamuth asks, can you make out what the words are? And she says, I'm trying to see if there is a word there or something. I don't think that SOS, heart, no words. Triptamuth says, just for the record, I should say that what we're looking at here, is an article of some sort that at the top says 1995, 300 new words from being off of her. And then, of course, it's inaudible. So many things in this stupid interview are inaudible, but yet they still only give us the transcripts. Because if they allowed us to hear it for our damn selves, we would probably be able to discern what it is that they're saying. Anyway, down towards line 10, Patsy says, well, she does doodle, but I mean, why would she put no, and then just strange? That just seems weird. He then attempts to ask her, do you have any prior memory? And she interrupts and says, no. And then he continues, of seeing this. Again, no. Would Burke possibly have done it? No. Okay. Patsy, I don't think that. Tom Haney, we've got the no on this one, and this is just, we have a heart, and then we have, Patsy says X, Tom Haney, or a Y. Patsy says Y, question mark. Tom Haney would be a YES, and a heart. Patsy says, oh, YES. No. Yes, I don't know. I have never seen this before. Tom Haney. Okay, do you recognize the folder that it's in, if that is a folder? Patsy says no. Okay, so back up. There's a word here that clearly has an E and an S. Tom Haney thinks it's a Y, but Patsy, who doesn't think it's a Y, verified by the question mark after her Y, she thinks it's an X. So, YES, well, spell that backwards, but replace the Y with Patsy's X. That would be SEX. No. A heart, SOS, and some sort of scribbling from a child on a picture that was found in John's study, in his home office. I know that was like a lot, but just like let that sink in. There's a picture that Patsy's never seen that has a child's scribbling on it, which I assume this has a picture of John on this pamphlet. And it says no, either YES or SEX, and a heart, and SOS, and no. Like, what is that? If that is not screaming red flags, then I seriously have no idea what is, because that is extremely weird. They say right before the parts that I showed you is she's talking about, Patsy brings up something that he won for the $1 billion sales mark achievement that he got for Access Graphics. So something to do with that congratulatory party that he had. So that's why I said that I'm pretty sure it had a picture of John on it, is because right before they're talking about something that he had gotten from that party, that congratulations party. There's only one part in this whole transcript interview where Patsy says more than like 7 words. Like, she actually says, like, almost a whole paragraph. And just the way that she talks, like, I'm very positive that those Patricia papers were her. If not, then this person that was writing those emails has mastered mimicking her writing and speaking style, because it's exactly the same. So, I don't know. Those Patricia papers kind of tripped me up. I was, like, thinking about those again lately. But we're coming up, we are at 30 minutes. You know, I like to keep my videos way under that, so I'm going to stop this one. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And as always, God bless. Evil on this scale is impossible to comprehend. To know who murdered JonBenet Ramsey would be to know what world we live in, where we are.